Hello, my name is Catherine Rooney Vera, Chief Market Strategist here at StoneX. What is happening in Venezuela matters. It matters for geopolitics, for energy markets, for regional stability, and yes, for American security. Inside Venezuela, the mood is cautious, but notably more hopeful than ever. Venezuelans broadly understand that Maduro's removal is not the end point, it's an inflection point. This is a controlled transition, not a clean break, not a regime change. Chavista figures still hold power, which creates anxiety on the ground, but also realism. Most people prioritize restored order, economic reopening, and a path back to normal life over speed or symbolism. That framing is important because it closely aligns with the US approach. And this marks a material shift, being that he was extracted from the country as an indicted criminal. It removes the primary obstacle to stabilization and signals a change in the balance of power without triggering immediate chaos or boots on the ground. This was not symbolic diplomacy. This was an operational move designed to alter behavior and reset leverage, especially when we consider this as Monroe Doctrine 2.0. Delcy Rodriguez now governs under a constitutional framework tied to Maduro's absence. The US strategy here is pragmatic rather than idealistic. Washington is not prioritizing immediate elections, it's prioritizing outcomes. This approach reflects a broader shift in US regional strategy. The focus is on stabilizing the Western Hemisphere, the neighborhood first, then creating conditions for longer term political reform. The logic is sequencing, not endorsement, which is why our understanding is there was not an immediate indicated explicit preference for opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who is certainly the closest in terms of ideology to the Trump administration. Venezuela's collapse offers a very clear lesson. State control replaced private enterprise, contracts, and rule of law. Hyperinflation, capital flight, institutional breakdown, mass nationalizations. They destroyed productive capacity and forced millions to leave. Despite holding vast oil reserves, the country could not meet its own energy needs once private capital and technical expertise disappeared. When private enterprise vanished, growth vanished with it. Any recovery depends on reversing that dynamic. Restoring private enterprise and basic legal certainty is the economic foundation, regardless of political endpoint. For markets, continuity matters more than optics. A controlled transition reduces chaos risk and lowers the political risk premium embedded in Venezuelan assets. That matters more immediately for bonds. Markets do not need a completed restructuring to reprice risk. They need credible authority, external recognition, and a path towards normalization. Control and clarity move prices before perfection does. Now, oil sits at the center of this process. If the current authorities move decisively to reopen the oil sector and cooperate with external investment, production can recover over time. This is not a near-term light switch, in terms of supply. Venezuelan crude is heavy, it's capital intensive and infrastructure constrained. The recovery could unfold in stages. Maintenance and debottlenecking can lift output roughly, we would estimate, between 6 and 18 months. More meaningful increases, 2 to 5 years, as infrastructure is repaired and capital returns. Markets price that credibility well before barrels hit the market. The sequencing matters for energy equities. The first impact comes through lower geopolitical risk premia. Integrated majors with heavy crude exposure, refiners, trading operations, they all benefit from improved visibility even before sanctions frameworks change. So, bottom line, this dynamic is not bearish for energy markets. It stabilizes supply, it reduces volatility, and it improves planning for producers and refiners. Equity type risk assets respond to clarity well before democratization. Clear rules on contracts, property rights, macro policy attract capital back into the real economy long before political reform is complete. And I'm telling you, that capital is already lined up. History suggests transitions take years, not months. Rushed handovers fracture institutions and raise violence risk. Stability first creates the conditions for political progress later. Now on to Greenland. I've gotten a lot of questions on this. Greenland fits within the same strategic framework, but for different reasons. And The intent and purpose, and my understanding, is not to take over Greenland or take over Venezuela. Venezuela centers on stabilizing a failed state and disrupting criminal and illicit networks, not conquering a state and making it the 51st state. Greenland centers on Arctic defense, missile warning, and critical minerals. Arctic shipping lanes are expanding. Military activity is rising. Russia has militarized the region. China has declared itself a near Arctic power. So, from a security standpoint, Greenland's importance increases, not decreases. So, Greenland also matters for critical materials and minerals used in defense systems, in advanced manufacturing, in batteries, and energy technology. So, these are the rare earths we talk a lot about. But from a US perspective, this is about supply chain resilience and allied security, not territorial expansion. The US already operates key radar and space infrastructure there through longstanding agreements with Denmark. It's important to realize that. The strategic logic is broadly accepted in defense circles. The risk lies not in strategy, but in rhetoric. So Greenland is tied to a NATO ally, Denmark. And language that sounds transactional or territorial quickly becomes a sovereignty issue, when in reality, the allied the allied issues and Arctic security are a unifying force. Taken together, Venezuela and Greenland institute a consistent U.S. posture, security driven, pragmatic, focused on reducing tail risks and preventing adversaries from exploiting weak points. For investors, the takeaway is straightforward: lower tail risk, clearer energy pathways, and opportunities where capital returns before political perfection. That is what markets price first. For any additional questions or for any additional conversations, please get in touch with your StoneX representative and we will be happy to discuss with you. Thank you. Goodbye.